Hello, this is Sarah from Crafting and Relaxing, and today I'm assembling a card for a friend that's having surgery and might need a little cheer. This is from the Simple Stories Bliss line. You've seen some of this product before, and I'm just taking a card from a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock that I've cut down, so it has a rather large pattern on it. And then using the cameo, I took a piece of 65-pound cardstock, just very cheap white cardstock, and did a bunch of distress oxide blending on it. And I did it in stripes so that I would have flowers of different colors that go with this paper collection. And then I thought I would just tear them out. And my point about telling you the cardstock weight, the 65-pound, is that is a great weight for the basic cardstock setting on a silhouette cameo. But it's not a cardstock. I wouldn't use 65-pound for my card base. So just keep that in mind when you're buying. I usually use a much thicker cardstock for my card bases. But there is a great use for a less expensive product like that. Now you can see the flowers cut out and the variation in color with the distress oxide. And I'm just going to use my spatula to take a few of those off the mat because they're stuck down pretty well. And I'm just selecting them based on the color and size that I want to use. It's purely coincidence or an indicator of colors I like that I have the distress oxides that match this product line. The colors I have just worked perfectly with the colors in this, and I couldn't resist trying this technique. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my art glitter glue to glue down a few of the flowers. And everything that you see so far was just printed on there. And what I'm going to do is add some texture to the card and just make some improvements here and there and see if I like how it turns out. So I'm taking some of those flowers and experimenting with the color and just making sure I have variation in color across the front of the card. A little bit of experimenting, and you'll see that I pick up the flowers and rub them between my fingers. And what I'm doing is I'm curving the petals, and I'll show you some more of that later. And now I'm looking at my embellishments, and coincidentally I bought some very cute Queen & Company bling on sale, and I'm going to use those for the centers to my flowers. They're a little bit brighter than the paper, so it just makes them that much more fun. And I'm using my pick-me-up tool to just lift those off easily. And most things have enough adhesive that I find that I don't have to add glue. If you get my cards in the mail and the bling has fallen off, you should definitely tell me. So you can see here, I've picked up the flower and I'm using my thumbnail just to curve it. I got that question on a different video about how I curved the flowers, and that's it. I'm just using my thumbnail and sort of rubbing them and curling them into a circular motion. So you could do like a triple layer flower or however you wanted to do that. And when they're all mounted together, they look really nice. I'm trying to keep this a card that I can mail pretty well, so I'm using things that add interest but not a lot of depth. And here I'm just putting jewels in the center of the flower that I just created. I'm going to go ahead and do the other one also. Figuring out where I want to put them. And you'll see that I used the one that cut off the edge of the cardstock when I did it right at the edge. That was a fun experiment. It was actually an error because I forgot that the cardstock wasn't 12 inches wide, so there you go. Now I'm trying to figure out where I want to put my sentiment and how I want to layer it up. And I'm going to put some glue on the back of those flowers and just mix them up in the pattern so that I have a bit of pink and a bit of yellow spread out nice across the front of the card, not grouped too much in one area. And you can see I've got different centers in my flowers and different colors. And just experimenting with the coloration in the different flowers. And that's the nice thing about using the Distress Oxide is I got a lot of variety in my petals. So I'll have a lot of other petals to make flowers out of and be able to make layers and variety. The stamp I'm using is pretty old, so I'm trying to ink it up and make sure it's going to work. It's an old, I think an old Stampin' Up set. So also it's not clear, so I'm having trouble figuring out exactly where it's going to line up. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can tell in the video, but I got it off the edge a little. It's on the purple. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to address that or if I'm going to leave it. And so I'm going to think about that. And what I decided was I'm going to get some purple cardstock, and it would have been a little flat the way it was anyway, but I just thought I'd try it to see how it would look. So by stamping it on the purple cardstock and then going off camera and coming back, I have layers that I can mount right over that so that it won't show at all, and it'll actually be a good kind of mistake because it will show better than it would before. It'll be a little more interesting. So I leave things like this in my videos just so you can learn from them and see that sometimes there are good mistakes, because I think you'll see that this actually looks better, more interesting than the way it was, the way I would have put it together. And I'm just using my big fat black Sharpie to ink up the edges. I could have used the ink pad too, but the ink pad isn't super flat. So for a smaller item, I just thought the Sharpie would work fine. And then now you can see that it's actually a little more interesting than it was, and it gets some purple onto the right side of the card where I had most of the purple over on the left. So just a fun mistake. And I'm just layering it with the art glitter glue and then placing it right over the other one and using my thumb to align it with the edge of the paper so that you can't see it. So in this instance, I didn't use foam mount tape because I didn't want to accent my mistake. I wanted to be sure that it was covered up. And then I'm going to use my white gel pen to add some interest to the flowers and the centers of the flowers here and there. And then I found, oh, I had that blue flag sitting around, but so that would have been another idea. Had I found that sooner, I might have used that, but I'm going to stick with what I have. And I'm just taking the white gel pen and adding some white dots in the flowers. These have a little bit of dimension too when the ink dries. Sometimes it dries with a bit of texture, so that adds some interest too. I'm coloring around the centers of the flowers just to add some white. And then I'll come back in with the gel pen on the actual petals that have the Distress Oxide ink. It's plenty dry. I did this the day before I ran it through the Cameo to cut it, the Silhouette Cameo. So now I'm drawing on those petals just to give them a little more interest, because the printed paper actually has some shading and dimension to the flowers, and so the ones that I cut out were looking a little bit bland. And so I thought that would be a little more interesting, and I hope that you'll be able to see that detail in the video. So a little bit of shading here and there and some dots. Just adding a little more interest. I think it's nice when you look at a card at first and you don't see everything, and then other layers of interest show up as you inspect it a little bit. I don't know if inspect is the right word, but you get the idea. Then I feel like it needs a little bit more color down in the corner. And same idea, curling it up a little. They flatten, but still it adds some dimension to it. And if you were putting them on a gift tag or a package or something, you could fluff them up a lot. And so here, what I want to do is bring in a little more yellow down below and then layer it with a pink. Just more interest so that they're not all exactly the same on the card. And then repeating the process, a little bit of art glitter glue. Oops, got away from me. But the pick-me-up tool helps you grab it. And then glue that one down, glue the other one on top of it. And I'm trying to figure out if I want to line it up just for dimension or if I want to stagger them so that the yellow shows through. You can do a lot of different things even with the same exact shape cut out. And so I did stagger it a little bit so the yellow shows through. And then I'll put a jewel in the middle. And just come back and add some more of the white interest. I'm having a little trouble with my pen. There we go. Now it's working. And I think you can kind of see that. Just so it doesn't look like just a flat paper cutout that I just made. It has variation in color and some texture. There you go. Oh, missed a jewel. You can never have too many, right? Just add a few more little ones just for fun. They're smaller so they don't compete with the flowers. Right there you can see on those Distress Oxide flowers the accent with the white pen and also on the purple ones. And then I need one more flower center, I think, right there. It doesn't show very well, but you get the idea. So I hope you enjoyed seeing this card come together, and it was just another idea for printed paper and using Distress Oxides with it. And there's the matching envelope. If you want to see the envelope creation, you could watch the other video. Thanks so much.